I think it is the right time for Gundogan to lead the club. Ilkay Gundogan is set to leave Manchester City. We bid farewell to another club hero. I don't know if Ilkay Gundogan is someone that you could really put in the category of club legend, because I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's one for you people at home to decide. Let us know down below in the comments. Is he up there with Company and Silva and Aguero and Torre and them likes? I'm not so sure, but what we do know for sure is he's been a fantastic servant to the club. Now, it's not confirmed that he's leaving. It just says he's set to leave, according to Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail. Mike Keegan has also said Ilkay Gundogan has been told by Man City that he is free to find another club this summer. With 1 year remaining on his current contract, it has been communicated to the Man City midfielder that an extension to his existing deal is unlikely. Now, this does not come as a huge amount of a shock to me. I think this has probably been coming for a number of months, and I think Gundogan himself has probably known for quite a lot longer than we have. He has not played a huge amount of football this season, or when he has anyway, they've been kind of small cameos, 15, 20 minutes here and there. And I'd say he, with not a huge amount of years left, probably physically, for him to be playing at the highest level, he wants to be playing football more regularly, and it's obvious that Pep doesn't favour Gundogan as one of those starting players anymore, definitely on a week-in, week-out basis. Joe, like I said, to me this doesn't come as much of a shock, but we'll talk about what this means for City going forward. But what's your first take on this? How do you feel?
It's sad. It's very sad, but it's the right decision. It's for the better. He hasn't played a lot of football this season. When he has played, he hasn't been that great, especially considering the bar he set for himself last season. And to be honest, we're looking at a squad refresh in the summer. We're looking at a significant amount of players, first-team players, possibly leaving, which hasn't really happened since Guardiola's first season. So it is sort of a semi-rebuild. I think players like him who are in his 30s, again, they're just kind of squad players. They don't really start week in, week out unless there's injuries. It's the right decision, but it's sad. It's almost heartbreaking. I don't think you can class him as a club legend because he was so... I don't think it was poor. He was just played out of position for multiple years. When he first came, of course, first season he picked up an injury that ended his season, and then he ended up playing as a six for another couple of years, and then he gets moved forward last year and has his best season he's ever had for the club. It's an all-timer season with, being one of I think he was our top scorer, but he was definitely up there with being one of them. And this season he hasn't followed. I think he's definitely carrying an injury because he just doesn't seem himself at the moment, and I think he's well within his right at this stage in his career where he's 31, 32 to go, I want to play regular first-team football while I still can. So I think it's sort of almost a mutual decision between both parties, as if to go, City, you're going, we can't give you this game time that you want, feel free to leave. And he's gone, I think I will leave. And I think it's as simple as that. I don't think it's City forcing him out. And I don't think it's anything other than both parties have decided that this is just the right option.
I don't know how well publicised this information is, but it is factual information that Gundogan is carrying a basically irreversible back injury, if you like. It's not something that will end his career, but it's definitely limiting him physically from playing every week. I don't know, maybe he feels he can play every week and the club don't, kind of thing. We also know Gundogan is veering towards his coaching side of things. He does want to get involved heavily in coaching or management. He's doing his badges and he's coaching younger teams at City. But look, it's an incredibly sad time, and you mentioned the amount of roles he played in over the years, and maybe that's why he never will go down as an actual club legend, one of these statuesque kind of players, is because he never really got the spotlight that maybe other players with that longevity Gundogan has had did. But what you have to pay homage to and pay respect to Gundogan for is the jobs he did do in those roles, whether he was playing as a six, whether he was playing as an attacking player, whether he was playing here nor there, he always did a very good job, Gundogan. He was one of those solid players that you could put on the pitch and you rarely ever say after a match, geez, Gundogan went really bad in that game. Do you know what I mean? And obviously that's not me trying to lowball Gundogan. That's not the best compliment I can give him. He's done some amazing things. I mean, last season I'm almost certain he was our top scorer. The stats say in 252 games for Manchester City, which is what he currently is on, 253 he plays against Villa this weekend, he scored 47 goals and 33 assists. Now, they may not seem amazing to you, but it was Gundogan's, for me, Gundogan's best attribute, Joe, was his ability to control the game and dictate the flow and the intensity of the game. He was the kind of player you want on the pitch when you just want composure, when everything seems a bit erratic, maybe you're holding on to a lead or that kind of thing, or that, it's getting a bit intense. He was the kind of player that could settle things down, knock the ball around, and give you that sense of calmness. I don't know. I think you also touched on it's a bit of a transitional period for Pep. If Pep is genuinely thinking of staying on, which the latest reports would suggest you to believe he is, then he's probably thinking right now, whilst it's a hard thing to do, he has to unload some of this, not dead wood, but players who are coming close towards the end of their peak, and he'll want to start bringing in fresh reinforcements, like we're linked with this Mateus Nunes guy, this Enzo Fernandez guy from River Plate. Pep is thinking about the next few years, and you'll start to see now players like Gundogan, Mahrez, and players who are in their early 30s will start to be phased out slowly, because that's what a transition is about, even though it's hard. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think De Bruyne is the only exception to that rule, really, of when a player gets into their 30s, they'll take a bit of a back seat, and if they're not entirely happy with taking a back seat, then they'll basically be told they are free to leave and find first-team football elsewhere. That could be quite possible with Mahrez. I think that all depends on the Sterling situation. Obviously, he's going to wait to sign his new deal. If he signs a new deal, it's going to be halfway through next year when the England camp's going on. He's going to wait to see how next season starts, and I think the same thing with Gundogan's just happened this season, where it's almost you're in your 30s, you're called upon when needed, but you're going to be phased out because obviously he had a season like no other last year, and it was almost impossible for him to keep it up going into the next year. And of course he didn't. I don't think anybody was really expecting him to go and score loads of goals this season, but I mean, yeah, it's just sad. But again, it's got to be done. It's for the greater good. We're going to be signing a new midfielder. We've been told numerous times that we're going to be signing, or we're targeting a new midfielder. I think now that Gundogan's going, it tells us that Bernardo Silva's probably staying, because I don't think we'd lose him as well as Gundogan. And could quite possibly see two midfielders come in, because Fernandinho already needed replacing, and if we're letting go of Gundogan, then someone else has to take his role, unless Pep thinks that Foden's ready to play there, unless Pep thinks Grealish can fill in that role, which I'm sure they both can, but then that takes away from the forward line. Then you look at it as if, well, who plays on the left? Do we need to bring in another forward player? Are we going to trust someone like Palmer to actually take a proper first-team role next season? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, but we will find out eventually. Again, it's not a shock to me. You said it wasn't a shock to you. It's not really a shock to me. I didn't expect him to, even if he signed a new deal, I thought it might have been only 1 or 2 years added on. I didn't think it'd be a long-term deal. And again, like as sad as it is, like change needs to happen. I think a lot of City fans have been calling for a little bit of a refresh. All things considered, and how we did this season in terms of, we're going to end up with just the Premier League while it's still a success. It's disappointing the way of which we exited some of the competition, so I think a refresh is needed, and unfortunately, when he's in that stage of his career, he's just one of them players that you just kind of have to let it go.
I think as a club and a fan base that wants to be challenging for all the biggest honours in football, you have to kind of come to terms with the fact that you will regularly have to let go of players that you really enjoy. And I think with Pep, one of his most admirable traits, Pep, is that in this game, there's no room for sentiment. And Pep definitely doesn't have any room for sentiment. We saw how he handled the Aguero exit and that kind of thing. And he's done it with a number of players over the years at all the clubs he's been at. Pep has no problem saying goodbye to club legends or big figures in the dressing room if he feels that's the best thing for the future of the club. And I think if we want to continue challenging for top honours, letting go and knowing when the right time to say goodbye is a huge thing in doing so, because you'll find your team becoming very tired and old looking, really. You know what I mean? They won't be able to keep up the pace for 40, 50 odd games a season. But with Ilkay Gundogan, the man in question, I think what he will be remembered for is essentially you could put us winning last season's Premier League down to Ilkay Gundogan. I mean, De Bruyne was injured for a large part of last season, and there was a number of other players getting injured regularly, and we needed a hero to step up. And out of the blue, unexpectedly, Ilkay Gundogan stood up and became our Kevin De Bruyne for the guts of 2 or 3 months. What an absolute legend. And last season's Premier League is massively down to Ilkay Gundogan. So for that, Gundogan, we absolutely love you, mate. And I think all the City fans watching this and football fans around the world who can appreciate a good player will agree with everything we've said so far. It's been really enjoyable with Gundogan. Like we said, it's not absolutely confirmed he's leaving. There's no club statement. There's nothing like that. He flew off to Madrid this morning. They were given 2 days off. I assume it's a holiday of some sort. And I'd say he wants to play in Spain. Barcelona looking to offload De Jong. And they've shown interest in Gundogan before. Maybe that's the next step. But as of Mike Keegan, it seems like it's going to happen. What does this mean for Manchester City going forward? We'll do plenty of transfer-related videos, midfielder-related videos in the coming weeks and months, so do stay tuned for that. And give us some suggestions down below. Is there any players you would like us to talk about in the squad, out of the squad, incomings, outgoings, all that sort of thing? We'd love to hear from you people. Leave a like as well on the video if you would. It helps us massively. The support for race recently has been fantastic. So to all of you showing support, we love you so much. And hit the subscribe button as well if you're new. We're getting close now to our goal of 2.5k. So any support on that journey will be massively appreciated. All your thoughts down below. Goodbye to Ilkay Gundogan if it is to be confirmed. Good night and God bless.